All right, there's Big Mike. There's Ken. Let's get some sound going on. I think we should see all the participants. Hi, everyone. I'm going to admit all. That we all come on in. Shh. Hi, everyone. As you're all coming inside. Got a big group tonight. Like a huge group tonight. 15, yes. Hi, everyone. All right, hey, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me okay. So I just had a little snafu. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, Ken.
All right, hey, buddy. So let me get everybody in here. We got a great group today. Of course, our star, our champion is joining us, and that's Mr. Marco Tempest. Marco, let me see you. Hey, Marco. Marco T. Marco Tempest, where are you, buddy? I see you here.
I'm here. How are you doing? Oh, I need to turn on my... Yeah, I should be all good.
Of course you're all good. You're always all good. All right, before we get going, I want to thank all you guys for hanging out with us tonight. This is a very, very special, well, they're all special Metal Connects. And our guy tonight is Mr. Marco Tempest. Marco is going to show us some really cool stuff. Now, let me real quick. Marco, I just want to make sure people understand. You're based in New York, and it's late for you right now, isn't it?
It's super late, and I quickly have to restart something, so you see me in my full glory. Give me a second. But I'll hear you. You just don't see me for a moment.
What's that mean? We see you full glory.
Exactly.
All right,
as long as it's not full Monty, it's okay.
Hey. I want to make sure we got all of us set. All right, hey guys, just to let you know, every Wednesday night, this is the Metal Connect, where we meet incredible people who have been on the show on Wednesdays. And on Thursdays is our metal mentoring, which is at 1 o'clock on Thursdays PST. Tomorrow is Nolan Bushnell is going to join us. And Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank is confirmed for next Thursday, which I'm very excited about. And I think we're going to have Eric Edmeans join us next Wednesday, all around healthy eating, healthy focus. But tonight, specifically as Marco Tempest, he wowed us a week and a half ago when he showed us some incredible stuff that he's doing within the virtual conference space. And I'm really happy to have him join us. Marco's in New York. And Marco, the audience is yours. Can't hear you, buddy. Wait, let me maybe unmute you. There you are.
I unmuted myself. Okay. So, hello everybody. So thank you for having a little bit of interest in what I've been doing. I'm not sure if all of you saw my little presentation the other day. So maybe wave at me if you already know what I do with magic and tech. So there were kind of a lot of questions in the chat on kind of how my setup looks like and kind of the little bit of the thinking behind what I do. And so I can kind of run through the kind of things I've been working on, which I find useful to do these kind of virtual conferences and being a speaker in a not stage environment, kind of some of the learnings of the few things I did since I spoke at Metal. I did a couple of events with up to 300 people and gained some insights on kind of what works and what not. And so I'm going to stumble through a little bit of all that stuff, very unstructured. I was hoping it would be a Q&A, but I'm fine to just go ahead and present a little bit. So in the talk, in the video windows, you're going to see Carmen, which is my girlfriend, but she's also a producer. And I found it super useful to have actually a producer when doing these virtual keynote presentations for things like interacting with chat windows, because all of these conferences use different mechanisms. So some are on Crowdcast, some are on Teams, on WebEx, on Zoom, and all these platforms have their own individual kind of quirks and ways you get to the chat window and how you collect comments and so on. So we created a little bit of software to make that smooth across all platforms, and also I kind of created a little bit of a tool chain of things which I find useful. So for me particular, because I like everybody to see what I'm doing, I ask my audience in the beginning if they see the the tips of the arrow, of these arrows, which I just overlaid on the screen. That is a good way for me to make sure everybody has their screen in the right orientation and the window in the right size. So I can actually use this space like you would do in broadcast television or in a keynote presentation on stage. So this is kind of one of my things in my toolbox. I found it's very useful to have these automated camera moves where I can kind of zoom in or restore or put myself in a little circle and have a video play behind me. So these kind of things add a little bit of pizzazz and production value to what we're doing. And I want to encourage you, if you have questions while I go on, you can either interrupt me or you can type in the chat window, which is really cool because then we can show how we bring the chat window on the screen later on. So I want to talk a little bit about the tools. I'm currently using a MacBook Pro, and I have these two LED lights, which I turn off, and then it looks like this. And I can control them from my computer. And there's a little light which makes a background color, which is pleasing. So I'm basically just in my living room. And if I show you how it would look with just regular lighting, 1 second. Whoa. And I'm back, and this is a lot less flattering. That's just kind of the overhead lighting you get in a living room and at a table. So I think lighting is very important, and I'll be right back. And then also being able to play media in a high quality kind of fashion. So for example, if I play a video clip, so let me play this. We have like good audio playing with that. Okay, that's on the wrong layer, so that's not going to do much. Let me show it like this. So to have like good audio integrated within your videos, and then playing them actually through the camera feed and not playing them as a screen capture helps a lot as well. So let me turn this video off just quickly and bring back my camera. Okay. And so maybe I can do a screen capture quickly and just kind of show you how it looks on my screen and kind of all the tools which are open, and then talk a little bit about the software which is used. So I'm going to hijack the screen, if I may, from you, Ken. Is this boring or is this interesting? Kind of.
Super boring. No, it's awesome.
I thought so. So, Ken, if you're the host, you have to give me screen sharing access.
Let's see. You got it.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Oh, okay. I want the whole screen. Huh?
Is it okay? You don't mind being the host?
Oh, we have 2 questions already, so let me quickly get out of the screen sharing. Bummer. Yeah, I want to share, but I'm stuck.
I have some fanboys right now are just like worshiping you, going, "Oh my God, Marco Tempest!" They're oozing, knowing that you're here.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. So can you see my screen desktop?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so the easiest tool is this. This is a virtual camera, a virtual webcam, which can take various inputs. So I have like a little Canon DSLR camera, which I route through something else, and then I output from that app, and I go through this thing which is called Eyeglasses. It's like a $30 or so app, which allows you to do the most basic things to your camera feed. Things like just zooming in and framing a window, or rotating your video in any way you want, adding effects like little additions, kind of little overlays, or doing filters. So that's a very nice thing to have a little bit of control. That also allows very fine-tuned adjustments. So doing a little bit more brightness, or changing the temperature a little bit of the video feed to adjust your white balance. That's a very good tool to have. An equivalent for that is called Anycam for PC users, with Macs, this works really, really great. And this works on Zoom, and it works on pretty much any authoring, any video conferencing platform. Then what I'm doing, I'm using this kind of more professional tool, which is called QLab, which is exactly the same tool that I've been using in my stage presentations when I do keynotes for very large audiences. So this is a tool where I can have like collections of cues, which will go one by one and adjust the window sizes and put overlays on and so on. Then I have these little panels where I can just like click to get quick access to functions. Like I want to be in a circle on the side, or I want to be restored, or I want to zoom in, or I want to say I'm back soon, or I want to put in a little kind of floating title, which says I'm Marco and I'm in New York. So it's kind of a quick access while I talk to my audience to interact. And also the arrows are here as well. So this is kind of what you could call the show control. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I want to show you another piece of software we developed which runs on Carmen's computer. And so let me stop sharing my screen and pin my own video. So Carmen, did you receive any questions so far? Let me quickly make sure you have access to the system. So we have this this tool where, whoops, that's not what I want, sorry about that. We have this tool where we can kind of inject text messages into a live window. And let me just try to find it. So this is remote text. Let's put that up on the screen. Carmen, can you send something into that window? Oh, terrific. So we have David Friedman say, how did you do the zoom and your face in a circle? So this was done, and so this is very interesting. So Carmen copy and pasted from the text window, from the chat window, into a little app we created, which now talks to my QLab application and kind of injects that text as a title. So I can ask Carmen to clear this text and then hands off. Carmen can make it disappear and put the next message in. So she can act like a computer, like a producer, sorry, Carmen, in another room or even in another part of the world. And essentially in any type of environment which allows for chat boxes, inject stuff into my own video screen. So to say how I did the zoom, I animated that within QLab. So I made a little mask which says, shrink my video, put this mask around it and put it on the side. However, if you use a tool like just eyeglasses, something quick, you could still do like zooming in and cropping and playing videos in the same way. So I automated that on my panel, so I can zoom in like within a second. There's a second zoom, or I can restore quickly. We had another question. Are you on a Mac or PC? So I'm on a MacBook Pro right now, kind of, and not the latest one. This is like I think 2018 or so. So it's not the fastest one, right? Which is out right now. But this is plenty to create a bunch of overlays and kind of and show things and color correct them and so on. The one thing I use, which is allows me to have this high quality image from a Canon DSLR, which has very shallow depth of field and kind of this professional look, so the wall looks all clean because it's out of focus, is a little interface, a HDMI to USB 3 interface, and you can find these on Amazon for like $200. And that allows me to kind of take the output of that Canon camera and bring it in and be visible to my MacBook Pro as a regular webcam feed. And so like in the most simple way, I think if you want to improve your video, is getting one or two lights. So this is just with one light, with a light kind of right straight up and then a little bit of fill, two little lights, and then a color background. This is kind of a setup that might cost you $200 or $300 to have a good quality kind of lighting environment. And then I think a level up from that would be, let's get a DSLR for like $1,000 or $1,500 and a little interface, and then have these like super high quality video, And then the next step obviously would be to get something like a show control, like QLab, or there's other tools. There's a Wirecast. There's like I posted a list last time, and I can post another link at the end of this chat with
Are
all
you
the
finding,
vendors which have
Marco,
yeah.
are you finding Zoom maintaining legacy devices as they move forward on
Okay,
their
yeah,
update?
that's something very important. So I run an old version of Zoom because the moment I upgrade to the latest version, my camera will no longer be accepted by Zoom. Zoom had these issues with privacy and security. There was quite a bit of campaigning against Zoom. And what they did, they immediately hardened their software in a way that it will not recognize anything except the built-in camera. However, the old versions are still available for download, and they still work perfectly fine. So I hope that Zoom will resolve that, and that Zoom, like any other platform, will allow these, they're called virtual camera drivers, where you can do stuff with various kind of software, like production software, which is usually used for streaming, for live streaming, and use that as a camera feed for something like a video conferencing system. The camera software was called Eyeglasses, and that's from Ecamm. And Ecamm also has a fantastic streaming solution. So if you look for eyeglasses, if you Google that, you will find that quite easily. There is streaming software for iPads. However, I like to have a lot of inputs and kind of controlling, having things where I can check my bandwidth and like a lot of screen estate. Maybe I can turn on quickly my iPad and show you kind of how my setup looks like. So you see me sitting here. So maybe Carmen, you can give me a hand with this. I'm going to turn this around. So kind of the quick tour is these are the two lights, right? They're from Elgato. They're called, I think, I don't know, you'll find them. They're from Elgato. They also make this Stream Deck accessory, which is totally cool because you can just control lights, and you can basically automate your whole office out through this. So I have like work settings and present settings. So if I click the present button, it will turn on pretty much all of my software which is required to do presentations. And then this is the MacBook Pro, and I have a separate monitor where I have like the software which you just saw in the screen share. And then typically in my own Zoom meeting, I use an iPad to see how I look and if the connection is good. So let's say if I don't receive my connection well or my video feed through Zoom back, then I might not show that many videos and just talk and don't move too fast so we don't get like the stuttering. With Zoom, typically that is not a problem. If you use WebEx or other platforms, especially Teams these days, tends to be very, very degraded in quality because so many people.
It does seem like, Marco, from what you've been looking at, Zoom at this point in time is the best solution over Google Hangouts, over anything, because one, load balancing also is there. But with what you're doing on the overlays, Zoom seems to be working the best, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, also, I think what happens in online conferences is like exactly what I'm doing right now is the wrong thing to can just keep talking and talking, and you could watch a video, a highly produced video, which explains you all this on YouTube. So what's really important is these kind of interactions with chat windows, with polling, with inviting people into breakout rooms. This kind of challenge response things with your audience, they have to happen almost every 2 to 3 minutes. There needs to be a moment where the audience feels like, oh, I don't want to go to the refrigerator and get a drink. I really want to stay engaged because it's going to ask something, or there's a fun fact about myself which is going to reveal. So this kind of interactivity is much more important than when we were doing our talks on big stages. Do we have any other things you want to bring up, Carmen? Maybe.
It's so funny. I
Yeah,
installed.
absolutely. I'm gonna put a tool list together, and then have Ken share that with you guys.
So, hey, Marco, I'm just wondering, as you're in a Mac, is there a difference, do you think, between a Mac and a PC when it comes to doing what you're doing?
I think it's a little easier to set it up on a Mac, maybe, but price performance wise, it might be, equally good or even better to do this on a PC. Like if you go into, like, let's say you want to have 3 or 4 cameras and switch between these feeds and maybe have them on the screen at the same time. There's much more assortment of software for live streaming and all these like little connectors and virtual camera drivers and so on. There's just more available on the PC side. And if you want to do like fun stuff like change your face or putting on these effects like the things I showed before, kind of these this kind of thing, I love you guys and I'm dizzy and my head hurts and so I want to pop back up. So this kind of thing, there's more on the PC side for sure.
Got it. Hey guys, jump in, ask questions. We only have them for a limited time. Let's use Marco, because I think we have another at least 2 months of this Zoom world we're going to live in, at least 2 months. Marco, one of our biggest problems is the cameras inside our laptops are crap.
Yeah, you definitely want to have this external camera. Like I think this is such a great investment. I'm not only if you're a speaker, but just for the everyday meetings. Like if you can just, legs up on anybody. If you just look a little better and like a little bit more professional, and I shouldn't talk with like the way I look right now, but like just like the image quality is just making such.
And what is the camera exactly? Which one do you recommend?
So I have a Canon EOS R, it's like a $2,000 camera, but that's not really, you don't need to go that high. You just want to have one of these cameras which have a big sensor, which are fairly light sensitive and have a fairly wide lens. So I'm currently on a 35 millimeter lens. So I'm like an arm's length away from I can touch the lens like this and it will focus at about 10 inches or so. This is about 10 inches from the lens. And it's just like a really good looking image, right? And
so let's go ahead.
This one has autofocus.
Aaron asked if the Logitech Brio is okay. Do you know?
Sorry?
A Logitech Brio.
Yeah, a lot of people are using it. It's a very tiny sensor in there, right? So it's kind of like if you're well lit, like I am here right now, that works totally well, even with one of these Logitech cameras. If you have a little less light, then a bigger sensor is definitely a better thing. Plus, that camera can not only be used for when I do videos with it, like for work and for fun. So it's kind of it's the camera I would use for my photography hobby is now just mounted as a webcam on.
Marco, since you have Carmen beside you, is it possible so we could look at Carmen's screen of her showing us what you're looking at?
Yeah, so you didn't see that on the iPad. We should have pinned the iPad maybe. We can do that one more time. Carmen, do you want another tour? Okay, so we're gonna have a stream. Let me see if I can. So there is another Marco Tempest, which you're gonna see, which has no audio, and you might want to pin that window. So you see the two computers, the computer, the MacBook Pro, and the monitor.
Yep.
Okay, and so the camera is up here. So it's on a little arm. And so it's this little DSLR camera. And then the thing I was showing before is this little control panel, which is this little kind of thing. So I can turn on and off the lights and start all the other things. And then I have these really big buttons on the screen where I can turn on and off things like zooming in or restoring and things like that.
So off your MacBook Pro, you're using a dual monitor?
I use an external monitor, yes. And that is partly because I was thinking I would have to do everything by myself. So I wanted to have enough screen real estate. Also, I'm kind of programming while I'm trying the software I'm working on. But I think this is going to perfectly work with a single screen and having Carmen as a kind of VJ or a producer. So Carmen can put these comments on the screen, and maybe Carmen, you can show your laptop and show the little program we made to control QLab. So Carmen has this little control window. So she sees your chat, and then she has a piece of software next to it where she can just copy and paste the chat messages and hit send, and then they show up on my screen. So,
Wow.
so that's so if you're using QLab, this software I can totally make available. That's what's
And how
just
much is
way
it?
for me not to deal with chat windows and have that.
How much is it to download Carmen?
Big Paul, go for it.
Sorry, I was just saying, how much is it to download Carmen?
Yeah, that's gonna be a difficult one.
Thank you, Carmen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm not sure how useful that is for you, but like I think you all need to find the setup you're comfortable with, like the technology level you're comfortable with. But I would say like very high level, you want to have good lighting, you want to have a good video image, you want to have a way to bring in audio properly. And so I forgot to show one thing. I want to quickly share my screen one more time. And so this is kind of looks a little bit intimidating, but when I play video, the way I do it, that I have audio perfect, I have this little utility, it's called Loopback. And it takes the audio from all the apps which are on my Mac, which I say I want to have audio from, and it then brings them over to an output source, so like a virtual port. And then in Zoom, I pick Loopback as an audio device. I'm not using my microphone as the input. In the Zoom window, I'm using the output of this program. This also is like a $30 program. It's called
Is that why
Loopback.
we see some lip latency between what you're saying and what's
No,
coming through?
unfortunately, that's the interface I use between my camera and my computer. So I'm gonna solve that with a little audio delay which I need to put in here. So this is all you're seeing all this stuff kind of in the middle of me figuring out what is the best way. So I've been experimenting for the last 3 weeks or so with what works, what not. Also for me, with a background in magic and tech, what kind of magic tricks can I do which work, which people at home can experience properly and don't think it's just a camera trick. And so this will probably progress into something a little reduced, hopefully with less latency on the audio, and also kind of a more streamlined way to run it on a single screen. So I'm happy to like post a list of the things I tried out, which I identified as being really good, and then maybe give an update when I have like my dream setup for like, this is really great. This could be set up in a hotel. I'm trying to make something which is small enough that it also fits in a carry-on, and I could do it, in a remote location or in a hotel room or wherever I am, since I'm still kind of traveling.
Yeah, let's get that bill of materials out. We'd like to do that. Hey, AJ, who's joining us? AJ, I'm not sure if you met AJ. AJ is from the band Saint Motel. I've heard the new song, which is a secret song that's not supposed to come out yet. What is it, AJ? It's Van Horn Part 2. Come on, AJ.
The song?
Yeah.
The song's called Preach. I like calling it Van Horn Part 2, though. That'd make it easier.
And AJ, I'm not sure if you know this. AJ, tell Marco what you did when it comes to VR.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we did our last album in virtual reality and augmented reality. But yeah, we've been looking, as all artists are right now, through the virtual spaces. And I saw what you presented last week. Would love to talk more about that and see what you're doing in that front. Because I feel like there's there's something we said about, we've been doing all these performances over Instagram Live and YouTube Live for these radio stations or whatever, and I think there's some cool possibility to do something like that in a virtual space.
Absolutely. And so the question there is kind of how much friction in kind of getting ready for that your audience will kind of tolerate, right? So if it's like, if people already have an Oculus Quest headset and you can do something on that platform and you have a large enough audience there, then that is wonderful. But if people need to download an app just to see something which might be, which they might not know how to use, or it's like not that attention span is sort of in such limited supply that the problem with a lot of AR and VR is just the friction of getting people into the environment, or having them download the app or install something and go
Absolutely.
into prompts. And so that's kind of a thing which can hinder, the success of an experience like that. I feel that like 3D or 360 is really cool when you're immersed, like when you have like sense of presence, when you're truly wearing a headset. It's like that makes up for the purchase of the headset and for the not having easy access. However, there are other platforms. So there's like something for bands to look at. Is like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Crowdcast. Crowdcast is a little bit like Zoom, but you can monetize it. So you can have like your kind of your own landing page. You can create events and you can charge people to enter, and you can have audiences of tens of thousands of people who can watch it through basically a web URL. So it will play your video, your concert, which you can have with multiple cameras and switched, and with like the same kind of setup I have here.
But AJ,
through
real
web
quick,
browsers.
wait, Marco, real quick. AJ, I want to make sure I understand. You're asking more on the platform that Twitchy showed us a couple of weeks ago, the Accenture platform, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And Marco,
Yeah, and I'm kind of trying, So that platform right now is kind of piloted internally within the company, and we use it to pitch to clients and to show them around in our showrooms. And of course, this kind of multi-user VR is certainly, I think there's gonna be platforms right now. The ones which are out, like there's Old Space VR, which is very comic-y. It's very hard to have a representation of yourself and your artistic expression there. You look kind of like a cartoonish character in there. I know Facebook is gonna launch Horizons very soon, which is gonna be kind of a level up from what Old Space is doing, which is consumer facing and like massively scalable. So that might be an interesting platform. I just want to quickly touch back on Crowdcast, because what Crowdcast has is this, first of all, it's in the browser. It's like, yes, it's video, but each of your viewers can be brought on stage by literally turning on the camera in their web browser, through their web browser, and inviting them on stage. So you can say, hey, Joe in Cortland, or in Portland, join us on stage, and then immediately you get a split screen and you have him and your band members or whatnot. And so there's a lot of kind of interactivity possible with that platform, where you don't need to be like, scrolling through stuff like you do in Zoom with the grids. And so where it's like, it's designed, you can have green rooms where you can meet people before and then bring them together on stage. It's an interesting kind of very frictionless way to invite people.
But Marco, aren't you finding a lot of the in-browser tools like Big Maker, anything that's in a browser has latency issues, I found more bugs because there's not an external app to drive it, that crashing and mission critical situations, you can't rely on the browser.
Yeah. It's true that, like if you're going for strictly video quality, right now Zoom is the king, right? It's just like the quality we have right now, the quality I see you in, Ken, right now is like it's crisp, it's perfect. You probably see a good image of me. We see all of each. We see like details, even in the little thumbnails. We can see emotions. Like you go on WebEx or Teams, it's like hit or miss. Sometimes it
Mark,
works, sometimes it doesn't.
could I just ask real quick? I'm definitely gonna check Crowdcast out. It sounds amazing. Have you, when you were experimenting, because you said you went through all these platforms before you felt like you had to make your own, did you mess around at all with Mozilla Hubs? Be able to make
Yeah.
Firefox?
So it's very so. It can get very, very chaotic in Mozilla Hubs very, very quickly. Like you have like 30 people in there and it's just like, who's
Yeah.
talking? And like everybody puts stuff down. It's this platform. It runs in the browser. It's a VR platform. It's open source. Mozilla put that out. It's really fun. We should probably meet once in Mozilla Hubs. It's super frictionless to get in. But then typically what people do in there is they're totally out of control. It's like vandalism. Like everybody takes spray paint and sprayed stuff and throw things around and like goes through each other. And you go into this like beautiful village and then like 10 minutes later, it looks like, total destruction. So yeah, but these are really early tests, right? It's kind of that thing we want to meet in VR and have a level of detail and kind of some mechanism to show our emotions in a realistic way. And some of that stuff might just be another, year and a half out or 2 years out. Meanwhile, in the business to business, what I kind of showcased in last Saturday's meeting, there we have different kind of budgets and we have smaller groups of users. And so it doesn't matter if it costs that much per user. And so we can achieve this very high level of fidelity, and we have the concierge service to set you up properly or send you a pre-configured headset. And so it's just a completely different problem to solve if you're in the enterprise space than if you're like.
I want to do this. Teddy, I want you to pop on real quick, Teddy, because you've been playing around with this also. Teddy, can you pop on and what have you been experimenting with?
Well, I mean, the update that I'm private chatting about right now on this channel right now, that I literally just got word an hour ago, which I want your feedback on, Marco. I'm a big part of the Burning Man community, and I'm one of the few people who has tons of virtual reality content from Burning Man. And Burning Man just hit me up and said, "Hey, we want your content because we're gonna do the virtual Burning Man, which could be 1 million people. They're gonna do it on AltSpace, and I don't even own a PC, and I gave my Quest away to a kid during Christmas, and so an AltSpace doesn't even work on a Mac. So I'm curious, like, how you imagine something that scale functioning on AltSpace.
It's not what they do in AltSpace, because of the computational overhead of rendering all these people, right? There are a lot of draw calls you have in your engine when you have like 30 or 100 people in a room. What they do is they have these rooms, and once they fill up, which is like 30 or 50 people, then they make a duplicate room and put the next 50 people in that room.
It's
and
like
then
Fortnite's concerts.
So you're never going to be 1 million people in a space like looking around saying, whoa, we're 1 million people here. So that's not going to be possible in AltSpace. It's just the way this is kind of architected. And AltSpace is you have a body which doesn't move, which just moves around like a stick figure, and then you have like hands without arms. It's like,
and you can interact and
weird
pick up
experience.
things.
I don't think it has the aesthetic of Burning Man.
Yeah, they're attracted to the fact that you can create an avatar. Like basically at Burning Man, everyone's an avatar anyway.
Yeah,
in real life.
I can see that.
But I mean, do you think that that's the best platform for something that big of a scale? It seems like breakout rooms, like Fortnite concerts, like Travis Scott just had a 27 million person concert in Fortnite last weekend.
Yeah, I think Fortnite also, like Epic, would be the perfect partner, right, for Burning Man. It's just they want to do these never done before things, and they're doing it on a super high level, and they have unlimited free cache. So kind of like Epic Games would be perfect for as a partner. They have the engine, the Unreal Engine, right, which is runs on pretty much any platform. Yeah. I would totally not partner with Microsoft and do it in all space.
Yeah, but hey, by the way, since you just touched upon Microsoft, we know that the AR space is changing. As a matter of fact, look what just happened. What's the company out of Florida?
Magic Leap.
Yeah, Magic Leap probably is not going to be what they were 4 months ago, right? They've changed their course. So right now, when it comes to AR, do you think, Marco, that HoloLens is really the best choice that's out there? Microsoft?
They kind of squandered their lead, right? Kind of like, unfortunately, like the HoloLens 1, when it first came out, it was like revolutionary, 2 years ahead of everybody. And now the HoloLens 2 is out and it's still a dev kit. You know, it's still not available at big numbers. Like, it's hard to get. It's $5,000. And then you have a company like Oculus, like Facebook, and they bring out a $500 headset and it's totally delightful. And so like, if you draw that line forward, kind of what that company will be doing in the next 2 years, I think like the winner is kind of, in the consumer space, there's going to be no other player.
Oculus seems to work great. Hey, Daniel Kraft is joining us. Daniel, who just became a Metal member, I think today. Hooray, Daniel Kraft. By the way, Daniel, where are you? I'm looking at your father-in-law, and I swear to God, he is a sit-in for Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber right now with that giant beard that he's grown. Isaac, gosh. But Daniel, what's your question for Mr. Marco Tempest?
Hey, Marco. So I, until maybe this year, ran this big medical conference called Experimental Medicine, and I saw your demo a couple weeks ago on the Saturday. I guess it may already have been asked, but when might a program platform like one you built be available to rent, buy, etc.?
Which platform? Are you showing the platform with the virtual rooms, or where he did what he did on top of Zoom?
No, the one with the virtual rooms I saw 2 weeks ago on the Saturday.
Right. So we are already kind of piloting with some of the kind of enterprise clients within Accenture. So technically it's available, but it's kind of very bespoke, kind of. And so even if big companies, if you hear like, big companies are doing AR or VR, it's typically they're doing it in an innovation lab in one of their labs. It's like, it's a bunch of technicians here and a bunch of, marketing people there. It's like, it's very hard to find that stuff at scale at the moment. It's just a tad too early still. However, it's so incredibly useful that it's gonna come, right? Kind of like knowledge retention and like immersive learning and connected workers and all these themes are like, they're so incredibly compelling for big companies. So
do you think if Accenture has it, do you think PwC and all the other big consultancy groups have their own virtual spaces?
Some do. I mean, like the goal kind of strategically is not to make, I created the platform because there was nothing available in the marketplace which had the kind of feature I wanted. However, if the market heats up and it's going to catch up and there are platform vendors which do the kind of thing I did in this platform, I'd rather do it with Microsoft. If Microsoft guides and, or is like a good solution for connected work, I'd rather use that and sell services on it than maintaining the platform. But this was just, there's no available platform or architecture with just the things I really wanted to see, which is group teleportation. You can go with a group of people from place to place. And
Marco, stop dicking around. Show us the platform again.
Okay, sure.
Come on.
I think Daniel's asking because he wants the bespoke.
Yeah, I want to rent, buy, or borrow it with a big sponsor.
That's right.
Yeah, so that certainly is possible, right? So let me give you a quick tour and maybe Carmen, do you want to put on a headset so we have somebody with wiggly arms in there?
Yeah, Daniel, I think that would be great because we know what Salim did the other 2 weeks ago. This utilized in a next generation conference or a communication platform would totally work great for you guys at Exponential.
And just a thought for Metal, for the folks who have an Oculus, why don't we do a VR event or get together?
I would love to do that. I got my VR headset. By the way, Marco, they're only $199, the one, unless it's a different version of an Oculus.
So it's the Oculus Quest, not the Oculus.
580 right now on Amazon.
So
Quest was sold out on Christmas. I wonder how their supply is right now.
can you see my screen?
It was there, it's gone now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's not good. Let me quickly quit the app and see what happened.
By the way, guys, it's great to see you all here.
Okay, let me try it again.
And I'll get to the rest of the questions. There you go, Marco, your screen's up.
I have a quick
Okay,
question.
right. Let's see if it stays up when I go full screen.
Who had a question? Who just said that I have a question? Who was it?
I do, Teddy. I'm wondering if you know the rollout plan for Facebook's Horizon platform and if you've tested it and what you think about it. You know.
Yeah, so I don't know all that much, kind of, but I think like 90 days or so is probably going to be realistic. They're going to have an event coming up, and they're probably going to roll it out partially for the participants there, and then test it there, and then I think it's going to go live. I would say within the next 3 months.
Just hey,
Can you see this? How I'm creating a meeting here?
No.
no, you don't see that. We don't see that, Marco.
Ah.
We actually see the screen that says camera main, zoom in.
Oh, okay. I know what happened.
By the way,
Okay,
guys, if you think
switch.
it's a boring day today, Marco, you were on a conference call today, and what was the woman talking about today on the conference call?
Hold on, give me a second. I'm
He was
like
talking
switching
about
things around for you guys.
helicopters on Mars, I believe. That was the JPL conversation.
All right, yeah. That was fantastic.
How cool is that, guys?
Let me try that again, and then I'm super
Yeah.
sorry this didn't work out the first time around. So you can see this, huh?
Got it.
Okay, so this is like I'm in a virtual meeting space. Carmen just joined. I'm on a desktop, so she's waving at me from a virtual reality headset, and I can see myself as well if I turn on this camera. So I use my arrow keys to move around. I'm that fast-moving guy there. And if I want to wave at her, I can wave like this. Hello. And then a unique feature of this platform is that you can kind of teleport yourself around. So I can say I want to change the location, and I can select a new location. So for example, we can go into this Accenture lab, which is in Sophia Antipolis in France, in the south of France. And now I teleport myself, and automatically Carmen is teleported together with me. So we're both here now. Hey, Carmen.
And this is a working model. You're using this today, Marco?
Yes, yeah. So we're using this. And so you would imagine clients will come in here, and then we do presentations. We say, like that's this slide deck. I can show them the slides on this. Or I can turn on these demos. So this robot is now activated. So if I get close to it, it's going to say hello.
Hello, I am Pepper. Welcome to our virtual lab. Here you can experience what the future could look like through a variety of demos and prototypes.
And then so we would workshop in here. We say, okay, so let's look at kind of the future of XR. So here's like what's called a hypersuit. Is a motion base where you can wear a headset and kind of be immersed in a multi-directional motion. So here we see a guy who's like using this rig and flying a kite, but this could be used to fly a drone or to do power line inspections or kind of fly around a building site or doing insurance claim kind of analysis by going through over a site which was damaged or on fire and whatnot. And then there are more of these demos. So this is kind of, it's a digital twin of that place, and there's all these demos. This is a cool demo which shows how these places are created. So to create a digital twin usually is quite a bit of effort. So we created a workflow which kind of accelerates that. We're using this very inexpensive Matterport camera, which is used for real estate listings. So so we do an initial laser scan with this super inexpensive camera, and then from this sparse point cloud which we are getting, we can create a mesh, and then out of that mesh we can create in a very accelerated workflow a 3D model. So this is the actual room we're in right now. We see the scan, And then we see kind of how we texture it, and then kind of a process of kind of human plus AI doing the kind of the cleanup, and then we end up with an environment like this. And so yeah, so this is kind of just a quick kind of, and the fidelity, this looks like on the desktop it looks okay, but in the Quest headset, so the one that Carmen is currently wearing here in the living room, there's Carmen. It's very immersive. It's a beautiful experience. So I'm gonna go out of the meeting and gonna quit the app.
So Marco, utilizing this, how do you actually charge a customer or client to utilize that platform?
Right, so there are different models. I think the best way is if you can sell content, right? So let's say you have a retailer and he wants to test different products or layouts in a store, then creating these stores and creating all the products which go on the shelves, that would be the service. And so Accenture is quite a big company. We're about 500,000 people with lots of delivery centers all around the world with lots of talent. So one of my jobs is to kind of figure out what go-to-market strategies are for tools like this and how we can scale these kind of production pipelines or these services for really large orders.
Guys, we got about 10 more minutes. What other kind of questions do you have for Marco?
I got a question.
Harry, what is your question for Marco? Harry, I unmuted you, Harry. Go for it.
Great. Hey, Marco, I've got a question for you. You familiar with what Linden Labs was doing in Second Life probably 12 years ago with all the universities? And he didn't want to go into the enterprise space, which I was working with IBM at the time, and we think that was a mistake because they were ahead of the curve. Are you familiar with what they were doing? And, unfortunately, 2008 happened. And a lot of the funding that went away. But so you are familiar with that? Because a lot of things I'm seeing have been around for quite some time, but either the market wasn't ready for it or the technology wasn't ready for it. So I'd really love to hear your thoughts on what they got right and what they got wrong.
Well, I mean, they were just in the wrong time, in my opinion. It's just like we're just now having this kind of level of fidelity that is required, so it doesn't need too much of imagination, right? So you have this real sense of presence when you wear a headset, and the headset is inexpensive enough so a lot of people can afford it. So it's just like I think 2020 is definitely a good year for VR. And like,
by the way, Harry, just to let you know, that's Phil Rosedale. Phil's a buddy of mine. They focus too much on the economics of Second Life with the Linden dollar and all that. I think they took too much. They had two economists working at the company. And I think they focused too much on what the company was and the world was as opposed to the technology and utilization. So that's where I think it got hung up on too.
I think you're right. And I think, but I think there's an opportunity now, Ken, more than ever, especially now with what just happened with the coronavirus and everything that's going on and the advances that have been made. Somebody even mentioned in the chat here, people get the fidelity wrong. When I was working with them, the brilliant people that I was working with were saying, Harry, your Hollywood friends, they want the high fidelity. They want everything to look perfect and sound perfect, and they don't understand the interactive. And this was before Minecraft was coming into being. So if you can give up fidelity for the experience and taking it to the enterprise, Boeing was involved in a bunch of things like that. So I'm happy to know, Marco, you saw what they were doing. The whole avatar thing, there were psychologists dealing with, and I can relate some stories to you if you want to hear them later about some things that happened where these kids from around the world went as avatars. They had never met each other. So it didn't matter if you were fat or short, or, these kids just knew each other through the avatars till they met at the State Department. It was amazing because of, I think the Arab Spring or something was going on at that time, and they all helped each other through that. So interesting work.
Yeah, it's like, I think in a way it was a very creative time, and like now it's much more pragmatic. What works, what can we sell? Back then it was like imagining this future and how we can inhabit all these virtual spaces. And so in a way, that has to come back, right? Because a lot of the problems we have are not just like how to sell it or the engineering side of it. It's really the user experience. And so in that sense, it remains a liberal arts problem, like to build worlds which people want to be in. So in that sense, they were kind of ahead in some things, but they just didn't have the technology, which made it compelling enough for wide adoption.
Let's go to Teddy. Teddy, go ahead.
So let's say you're hosting a talk show, Marco, and you want to bring on guests and get that high fidelity quality. And how would you port them into your feed, for example? What technology would you recommend?
Well, are we talking virtual reality or are we talking kind of
This is
video?
back to 2D reality.
So the 2D kind of instant panels take any person from 1,000 or 10,000 and get one up with you or line up 3 in a row. Crowdcast is a fantastic platform for that. I would definitely check that out and I think they have a 3 months or so I've been looking at it. I could live with the video quality just because of that feature and because it's easy to monetize. So I would recommend that for people who wanna sell tickets.
Have you heard of Stage 10?
It rings a bell, but I didn't look at the platform or try it out.
Or hey, real quick, can you geek out with us, Marco, regarding the JPL stuff that you're working on? A few of the guys want to hear what's happening there.
Okay, so at JPL I have this kind of odd role. I was brought in to kind of, in my job description, it says like kind of prototype future technologies and envision like future concepts of operation. I have this weird background in magic and tech. And so there's this kind of liberal arts component or user experience component in it and psychology component. And so when we think about how do robots talk to each other and how do we talk with robots, or how does somebody control 1,000 robots on the moon, or how do we communicate messages within teams, or finding the why to the what, kind of having these compelling mission narratives or these like mission stories. So I do all these kind of things. So I'm kind of maybe a glorified media producer with a technology background. So I do videos and VR and AR and slide decks and events and work on kind of future mission formulation or concept of operations for robots, and kind of essentially help teams with funding, with their internal story, and then with some of the technical things. So I'm this kind of, I do a lot of different things, but I'm not an expert in anything in that sense. So like kind of, and so like the latest project I did, there's a group at JPL which in 3 weeks was able to create a ventilator like specific for COVID-19 patients, and I worked with this group and created the video for them so they could kind of present that to the wider world. Did I show that video when I talked?
No, but before I'll show that real quick, Marco, this whole nomadic concept, I think with what's happened, and we've all been kind of sequestered in our homes and we're learning to conduct business remotely. Do you ever see yourself saying, hey, I don't need to live in New York or Pasadena and kind of live somewhere, at least there's enough bandwidth, and conduct the same business that you're doing now?
I think that might very well become a reality very, very soon. I think it's going to be, things will not go back to like before as quickly as we thought, or maybe not at all. I think the budgets of the conferences I typically talk at, they're inexistent right now. People are very, very careful. I have like some inquiries for November and December. Nobody signs a contract or puts down a deposit right now. So I don't think that's going to come. So having a compelling package, which I can run from home, sounds like a good idea. I had a call with a bunch of speaker bureau agents a week ago and showed some samples of what I'm currently working on. And they kind of thought that this would work quite well, and that it might sell at like 30% or so, or 40% of the fees I had before. But if I can make 40% of what I made before in an hour before breakfast, right? Just sitting at at the living room table with two little lights in my face, and not have to travel 4,000 or 5,000 miles or around the world, and and kind of be in constant stress. And so,
Yeah, but let me make sure you understood my question also. Do you foresee yourself moving in what the first priority is broadband? Wherever I
yeah,
go,
absolutely. Broadband is going to be the one thing which we cannot do without. And then, so Carmen and I gonna actually go to Switzerland in about 5 weeks, and we're planning to stay for about 6 months and see how things are panning out here.
good broadband?
We have broadband there, yeah.
No, but
I
good
heard
broadband.
of it.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be good.
We have
It's
cheese and
interesting.
chocolate and broadband in Switzerland.
Right, and nice water. Let's see your COVID. Let's see your video.
Why do you think the U.S. is so far behind in bandwidth speed and internet speed? Korea is still sitting at number 1, and we're sitting at number 7. We're number 11. It's just.
Well, but remember, Big Paul, that's the average. So if you go to areas like where I'm at, I have 300 up and down, okay? And I know I just talked to another metal guy, and he just put in a gigabit. Oh, I talked to Kevin Harrington. He just put a gigabit in his home down in Florida. But then you go to the rural areas where it's only 3 megabits. So the average of the country is horrible. But Marco, you're you're near Manhattan. What are you getting at your house?
We get like 150 to 100.
Yes,
I think here it's like the investments in infrastructure are typically financed by the consumers who use it. Like, so typically the telcos sell you stuff they don't quite yet have, and then they finance out of the first sales their upgrades. And so in Korea, this is government paid kind of infrastructure. It's just like different business models, but
yeah, and they're much more compact. I mean, you're right. Austin brought it up. Korea is a compact area, especially
it's a
Oregon.
super small country in a sense, yeah.
It's a lot easier doing those areas where we're looking at just massive areas. Let me just tell you, Big Paul, I believe, especially the rollouts of things like Google Fiber, man, that's some powerful stuff. They slowed down with that, but if you get some Google Fiber going, your ping speeds are like nothing. It's amazing. But that's where it's at. But Marco, go for it.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this is a very short video about this project, and probably of a super awesome team at JPL. So I hope you get audio with that.
No audio.
No audio?
Yes,
Okay, so
audio.
there
No,
was audio?
you're fine.
Let's do it again.
We are designing an easy and rapidly mass manufacturable ventilator device, and it is a crazy project.
This crisis is unprecedented in our lives, and requires unprecedented action.
I'm so amped up. I mean, it really, the adrenaline rush, it's exciting, but it's exhausting. And I think we all just want to do everything we can to try to help. Ready?
I would say the biggest personal challenges that I have myself is I don't have time to sleep.
I think what JPL brings to the table is extraordinary talent. It also brings to the table tremendous innovation. The third thing it brings to the table is tremendous focus. The other thing that I felt, I see it in our team, and that is a call to duty. I have this talent, I'm an engineer or a scientist, I can do something.
We have the potential to save human lives, people that we might know, our neighbors, our families. And that intensity, amazing. It's amazing. And as stressful as this has been for everybody in the last couple of weeks, not one of us can stop.
That's awesome.
And
Marco,
with that,
Marco, we really want to thank you and Carmen for hanging out with us and sharing this incredible technology and what you're doing. And Marco, one last thing. This whole mission with JPL going to Mars, which is happening in June possibly, right?
yeah, we're going back to Mars. We're sending another rover with an incredible life detection instrument this time. And the best part for me, what I'm most excited about, we're going to send a helicopter. So there's going to be a hovercraft which sits under the belly of the rover, and the robotic arm will deploy it. And it's a technology demonstration. So it's for the first time we're flying something in the atmosphere of another planet. And the atmosphere on Mars is very, very thin. So it's an incredible technical challenge to actually fly a rotorcraft there. And it's going to be fantastic if they can find the personnel in the next couple of months to continue this task. So Mars 2020 is still on, but we don't know what's going to happen and how the crisis develops.
Well, this was awesome. Hey, can everyone unmute yourself? Everyone unmute themselves, and everyone unmute. And let's give it up for Marco and Carmen.
Marco, thanks, Carmen. Hey, Marco, thanks.
Marco.
Hey, cool.
Marco.
Hey, Marco.
Thank you.
Marco,
Great
you're
job,
the man.
brother. Thank you.
Marco.
Awesome,
man. Congratulations.